Welcome to our presentation. You shall not steal. From the article of Lucan, I would like to highlight some points. The author emphasizes the calling of the Seventh Commandment, that is to respect for another's property and freedom, and to do so fairly and inclusively, without favoritism and prejudice, and the charity and generosity toward the poor. The virtue of justice is fundamentally a matter of treating all things right, as valuing the property and freedom of others. Stealing violates commutative justice. The unfair distribution of goods violates distributive justice. Now let us dive with me in the parable of the workers in a vineyard. Matthew chapter 20 verses from 1 to 16 as my reflection about God's justice and our responsibility. We are on call to work in vineyard with justice, care and love. God created all things and entrusted them into human hands with a great privilege, that is dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the tame animals and all the wild animals, that all creatures that crawl on the earth. In Genesis 1:26. Many people, even one of us, have wrong definition of the word dominion, that are not in line to God's providence and justice to creatures. Many misuse dominion to control, to manipulate, and to harm the creatures unjustly, looking into the modern world with high technology, but we lack charity and justice. We like to consume, we like to utilize all things without consideration, and we like to manipulate others by many ways, especially corruption and unfair treatment and distribution. However, dominion should be understood with care, respect, justice, and restoration to all creatures of the earth. In Genesis 2 verse 15 said, "The Lord God then took the man and said to him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and care for it." We are called not to have dominion over creatures only, but to bring love, care, conservation, and justice to all, as God is just and merciful. We are called to be responsible stewardship, fair wage, fair treatment. Many people easily tend to see image of God in this parable as a merciful and generous master. Yes, it is true. However, let us look at it more deeply in terms of human and environmental rights. So, what is God's justice here? Let me ask you a question. Why is it that the master pay equally to those who work only few hours? It is fair for those who work a whole day? Quick answer, I think many will say no. It could be crazy master, sorry for the word, right? Because he will lose a lot of money. However, let us look deep into God's master action. The very reason why he does that, because he respects workers' right, a right to be deserved fair treatment upon the contract. The master renders each worker their right. God's justice here should be read as to all creations. That is God's invitation and challenge to us today. We have to act justly. This parable shows us the value of justice in our society today. The workers, regardless of nationalities, race, color, must be treated fairly. The children must be cared and protected justly from the parents and teachers. Indigenous people living in the forest or near the river are needed to be treated fairly. Natural resources must be used fairly for the common use, not for the personal interests. Like earlier workers, they are small instead of being contented what they deserve. We use harmful means to meet our needs, but compromise others' needs. The human's disproportionate consumption and control of natural resources is kind of stealing from the poorer countries and from the earth itself. Humans have become insensitive to the problem of unfair distribution in the world. Therefore, to live justice is to depend on God's providence and care. We must be grateful for what we have that comes from God. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Let us hunger and thirst for God's righteousness, not for possession and wealth on earth. Let us act for God's righteousness, not ours, a justice that makes us as a whole, and be blessed.
Brother Vincent mentioned the parable of the workers in the vineyard, which invites us to work in the vineyard with justice, care, and love as we are called to do. This vineyard can be associated with our world today, the whole ecology. Hence, as the workers of the world, we must be responsible steward to all. Justice in this account plays an important role to be able for us human provides fair treatment to all living creatures and be part of the integral system of ecology. Moreover, to be integrated means acknowledging their significance and value as part of a complex and diverse ecological realm. However, to promote justice is easier to say than done. At some point in our life, we falter to be just. Stealing, for an instance, is a form of injustice. It is defined as to take another person's property without permission or legal right and without intending to return it. But much more than the relational problem towards other people, stealing could also be a form of deception behavior for self-enrichment to the expense of others. Note the word others. The other may connote relationship towards human being, but it could also mean others who are not human like us. These are the plants, animals, trees, and the ecology as a whole. The deforestation in Vietnam brought about the hydropower project nearly destroyed 68,000 hectares of land and affects 26,000 households has been a threat to the Vietnamese people. Needless to say, not only humanity is affected by this project, but the whole ecological system. Damage to wildlife habitats and migratory parts, land, and the use of greenhouse gas emission from reservoir are few examples we can draw from this misguided anthropocentrism. I would say this project falls under the Seventh Commandment, "Thou shalt not steal," which violates the virtue of justice. The deforestation as the result of the project has caused serious problem already. How? As they cut down the trees, they steal the animals' right to shelter in it. As they cut down trees, they deprive the people and the animals to feast on its fruit. As they cut down the trees, they cut the opportunity to a clean air for the mammalian to breathe. As they cut down the trees, they contribute in the raising of the atmospheric temperature of the world. And as they flattened and excavate the land, they steal the opportunity for the next generation to see the wonders of God's creation. Isn't it justice involves respecting property, promotes respect, protection, and giving fair treatment to all? Remember, justice is a moral virtue that consists of the constant and firm will to give their due to God and neighbor. The deforestation in Vietnam is not only about stealing from the nature and the others, it also means we did not give due to God, the source of everything, the creator of all, and the ultimate honor of things. The deforestation as the impact of building hydropower would mean an injustice action towards God and to the whole ecology. I hope at the end of the day we would realize each injustice has its end and consequence. The order of the nature as it was designed by God is perfect. Thus, it has maintained its mutual relationship with each other. And if this system is interrupted, expect it leads to unbalanced ecosystem. This is perhaps an answer to the question of why people living near the site experience abnormal flooding and landslide. The bottom line is, we are just whenever our action is headed for the common good. We are just when we are capable of fighting for what is right. We are just whenever we bring hope and joy to all creation, when we care and take the accountability in every wrong discernment, and we are promoting justice when we know how to fix our mess and lead all creation to Christification. Look back at who we are in the book of Genesis. We are created in God's likeness and image. Therefore, like him, we must be just.
Good afternoon, my dear father and everyone. Seventh Commandment. The stealing is one way to destroy the virtue of solidarity, because solidarity refers to the empathetic foundation of Christian love. In order to truly serve the neighbor, that love must be born out of an identification or solidarity in the neighbor, in his or her joys, suffering, and struggles. The call to solidarity is the call to affirm in one's life interdependence and unity of humankind before God. What happens to one happens to all. As a response to the reality of human interdependence, solidarity is a moral virtue that promotes the common good and affirms to the intrinsic value of all, who share filial bonds as children of the Creator. The human community is a reflection of the divine community, the Trinity. The practice of solidarity is the response not only to other persons, but also to their Creator. To include other from full participation in society is thus not only to commit an injustice against other human beings, but also to commit a sin against God. If solidarity implies an affirmation of human community, then it implies a special affirmation of those persons who have historically been excluded from the human community: the hungry, the naked, the sick, the least ones. What is the judgment for this? Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Ill, and you cared for me. In prison, and you visited me." Then the righteous will answer him and say, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked or clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and visit you?" And the king will say to them in reply, "Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me." Obviously, Jesus invites us to give food and drink to him in those who are hungry and thirsty, to clothe him in those who are naked, to visit him in those who are sick and in jail. Whether we realize this or not, every time we spontaneously take care of a brother or sister or anyone in need, it is Jesus himself we are serving. Reflecting on this, we easily recognize the opposite between the Jesus invitation and the steal. Jesus invites his people to give, not to steal. Giving is a good deed. Steal is an evil deed. My dear Father and everyone, let us imagine if we are stolen money or valuable things by our brothers or sisters in the community or our family. How do you feel? Doubting, peace, happy, worry, or angry of those actions? My dear Father and everyone, I believe that your feeling is the real answer for how stealing destroys the solidarity between one another, and how its dangerous action affects to the unity of the family or community. Does God also invite us to care, protect, and preserve other creatures?
How do we apply the virtue solidarity to environment concerns today? Looking what are happening in this society, people have been trespassing to the virtues of respect and solidarity. In my part, I will present the particular issues that regarding to the solidarity virtue. It is the building hydropower development in Vietnam. Building hydropower development is considered as stealing and destroy solidarity. Every creature has a right to live accordingly in their environments. When God created all things, He sees all are good and bless them. It tells us that all creatures have right to live, to be valued, and to be respected. They have a strong relationship to each other and to the Creator. However, building the hydropower project, it is required to cut off a plenty of trees around area in which government give buildings for keeping and preserving water from the rivers or natural sources. When they are doing this, unwittingly, they are stealing the right to live of those trees and own animals around that area. By building the hydropower, they are invading dwelling places of creatures without permission. Obviously, is any permission from the affected ones? Of course, no. The construction of hundreds of large-scale hydropower dams has caused a huge loss of natural forest and biodiversity. 100,000 hectares of fertile land areas for agricultural production are submerged under hydropower reservoirs. And also, hydroelectric dams had caused many conflicts over water resources and various economic sectors. All these negative effects are upon the poor who are living around it. Most of accidents happen to the poorest one. When doing this project, government is destroying the entire environment of creations from the plants, animals, and to the human beings, especially the poor ones. In Matthew passage 25 verses 34 to 40, Jesus invites us to give food and drink to Him in those who are hungry and thirsty. But contradictory, building hydropower, we actually did not give to others anything, but we take from them even the least they have. We steal the places of poor people, the dwellings of animals, and even their only foods, which exist in the area that we explore. We are destroying unwittingly the relationship in living environment of all. The invitation of Jesus for us is clothe Him in those who are naked, but we are taking off the cover of the soil, the protection of animals and forest. Jesus also invites us to visit Him in those who are sick and in jail. But instead of visiting, we are invading and bring the sickness, troubles, and sufferings to all the living things. Create more homeless for all things. The call to solidarity is a call to affirm in one's life interdependence and unity of humankind before God. What happens to one happens to all. Therefore, respecting one's properties is the way to keep and practice the virtue solidarity.